Hello everyone, welcome to the video, and today we are going to be drawing Karma from Assassination Classroom. This anime features a classroom of children that are assigned to kill their teacher in order to save the world. It's more of a comedy and pretty lighthearted, and I really like this anime, and Karma is definitely one of my favorite characters other than, Nagisa. I definitely recommend this anime to anyone who likes anime in general. Now, on screen, you can see that I drew a circle and I'm starting to do his chin. Karma, like many of the characters in Assassination Classroom, actually has a very pointed chin and a very thin neck, which normally you would see in female characters. This is actually brought up in the anime. Nagisa, the main character, is referred to as feminine and actually is a part of his arc and his growth throughout the story, which is very fascinating. But I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, so you should go check out the anime for yourself if you actually want to see how this arc forms. Right now, I am going to start the hair. I'm going to do curved, sharp lines, as his hair is very pointy and sharp. Now, unlike many anime characters, his hair is actually pretty flat. It's actually something that you can see in the real world, unlike many hairstyles, the only exception being that little tuft on the top of his head. Now I move down to the collar of his shirt. Now, I don't draw things in particular orders. As you can see, half the hair isn't even done yet, but for some reason I moved down to the collar. I just do whatever I feel the most comfortable with at the time. That way I don't have to worry about messing up in the future. If you do the simplest things first, it doesn't feel as wrong to erase them. But if you do something really highly detailed in the beginning and then have to erase it later, it can be quite annoying. So typically I just do whatever I feel most comfortable with drawing at the time, which usually includes mainly the outline of the character before I move into more inner workings like the eyes, mouth, or even clothing details. Now you can see that I start a little bit on the face, starting with the nose. In this art style, the nose is just one small curved line. I usually start with the nose as it helps me kind of center my character, figure out what kind of angle we're looking in. Since his face is not perfectly straight aligned with the camera, it helps tell me which way I need to direct the eyes. I also draw in two lines across the forehead just to kind of give me a boundaries where the eyes should be, just so that one eye is hopefully not bigger than the other. Then as I draw the eyes, Karma's eyes are pretty simple, just 3 lines. In most anime cases, the eyelashes are much thicker. If you want a more intimidating character, usually the eyelashes are thinner. But if you want a more feminine or cute character, the eyelashes are usually thicker. And what I mean by eyelashes is the top rim around the eye. Now I am finishing up the eyebrows. The eyebrows are probably one of the most important parts of a character in my opinion. It's the most expressive part on the body, I'd say, aside from maybe the mouth. The mouth and the eyebrows are definitely tied for the most expressive part of the body. And you can see right now I am doing the mouth. In the reference I'm using, you can actually see the bottom teeth, but not the top teeth. It's important to think about the certain angles you'll be seeing on your character, especially when it comes to the mouth, what teeth you might be or not be seeing. Even though his mouth is almost completely open, you can only see the bottom parts of his teeth, and that's due to the angle in which we're seeing it. As I finish sketching the eyes, hair, and general body, I go back and make sure everything looks fine to me, double checking the eyes, erasing them, and even fixing the one on the side. Then I go through and erase some of my sketch lines, just so that everything looks perfect before I use the marker. Obviously, you want your picture to look perfect by the time you use your marker, otherwise, things might not turn out so perfect after you use it, and obviously you can't erase a marker, at least not my markers, so gotta make sure everything's perfect. As I move on to the marker phase, I am actually using a thicker marker for this drawing, as I am much closer to the face and the details are much larger. What I mean by closer is all the details are larger and easier to draw, and I don't have to worry about any small details getting drowned out by a thick marker. I'll speed this up since I'm just doing basic outlining. only using the thin marker on really small details like the eyebrows and the eyes. This video isn't considered a tutorial. If by chance you're trying to draw this alongside me with me, then feel free to stop the video and pause it whenever needed, especially during these time lapses where I speed up the video. Now, for a split second before I start the coloring phase, you can see that I am drawing on a separate piece of paper. It's really nice to have a separate sheet of paper in order to test your colors before you commit to using a color on your page. The first thing I like to do, especially when coloring hair, is decide where the highlights are going to be. That's why the first thing I do is color the highlights instead of the actual hair. I just always forget about the highlights mid-coloring, so I always do this first in order to make sure I don't forget. Otherwise, the hair has 0 highlights and it just looks slightly off. Of course, you don't need highlights in the hair, but it makes it look a lot better when you do. Throughout the coloring phase, you will see me switch between markers and colored pencils. How I determine when to use a colored pencil and a marker varies a lot. Most of the time, when doing the eyes or skin color, I like to use colored pencils. With the skin, it's simply because I don't have any skin-colored markers, and for the eyes, it's actually because most eyes blend a lot. They usually fade from a darker color into a much lighter color, even white sometimes, like in Karma's case. It blends all the way from an orange-brown all the way to white. Now, this is possible with markers, but the blend is usually not quite as seamless as it is with colored pencils. I also like to shade with colored pencils a lot. Later on, I'll shade the hair with colored pencils, even though I originally drew it with marker. Now, typically with anime or cartoon drawings, I try to avoid drawing the entire picture out of colored pencils, simply because a lot of cartoon characters have very bright and vibrant colors to them, and usually markers are much brighter and vibrant compared to a colored pencil. That's not to say it's not impossible or I haven't done it before, just that most of the time markers are better and superior when it comes to cartoon characters. If you guys have any recommendations for me to draw something, please tell me in the comments below. My style heavily leans towards anime, so if you want to see more anime characters, definitely tell me which ones. Depending on the character, I might just do a tips and tricks video, or I might go and do an entire tutorial depending on how simple or complex the character is. Now, as we wrap up here, guys, I'm just filling in some of the last details, making some of those lines sharper, making sure everything connects and looks right, filling in all the little spots that I might have missed when coloring, doing all that sort of stuff as I finish up here. This here is the final piece and took me roughly 40 minutes to do. I hope you guys like it. Bye.